Hey there everybody, how y'all doing today? I'm Jack and this is Raw Tropical Living, and I appreciate you tuning in for another episode. It's odd as I'm looking in the camera and have this long sleeve black shirt on. We're getting a major little heat wave here at the end of the summer, but I just got back from the grocery store and they keep them so cold in there. I've kind of got that old man thing going now. I always have to carry a sleeve with me where I go, so I felt a little bit odd on a day where the high is supposed to be about 96 or 97 wearing a long sleeve shirt, but us old people have to do what we need to do. So I was going to the store to get some stuff for some things I'm working on, and I thought it would be a perfect time to talk about hearty raw vegan recipes for cool weather. I'm starting to get myself prepared. Guys, I do videos every day, so if you haven't already done it, please go down there and hit that subscribe button now, and then immediately make sure you click on the little bell and check send notifications so you'll stay subscribed to the channel. That's an important part for all your YouTube channels, or you might not get notifications. Now's the time. You got to think ahead. You always need to be thinking ahead in a lot of things in life, although that does a bit contradict my mindfulness practice of living in the moment. Well, there's certain mentalities for preparing ahead, but we don't want to get too far into the future with our thinking. But anyhow, yeah, I was going to pick up a few things this morning, and I said, okay, why don't I share some of this stuff that I'm working on, because that's all I'm ever really doing is just sharing what I'm doing, how I do this raw food thing. And we're getting ready to change seasons here. I swear it's going to happen, even though it doesn't feel like it right now. You know, like I say, I like to think ahead, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe let's come up with a couple of new things. You know, each year I get a few more skills in the kitchen, and I find like, oh wow, I wouldn't have thought that I could develop that recipe. So what I'm already thinking here is there's a lot of good recipes already out there. Now, I had a dehydrator when I was in Costa Rica, and ironically, I didn't use my dehydrator all that much down there. I bought it mostly. I made some kale chips. I did a few things, but I didn't use it until I got to the mountains and I started making Melissa's chili, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. Melissa's Raw Food Romance Chili. And those are the first two things I'll talk about. Well, I think I'm actually going to get a dehydrator. I've been considering it anyway for a few things that I like to make, a few recipes I already know about, and then boom, last week Chris Kendall came out with this epic pizza book. It's got like 18 different pizzas in there. They all look off the hook, and I think that's what's going to put me over the edge for going ahead and getting myself another dehydrator. So right there, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I'm going to be developing some recipes. I'm going to share some recipes. I might even share a recipe video tomorrow. But for right now, I've already got some stuff. You're thinking hearty for the winter. Think hearty. So I'm going to put some links in the description down below. I'm going to put a link to I've got this stew. I've got this stew that I make with marinated mushrooms that I've shared before. So I'll put a link to that. I'm going to put a link to Melissa's Raw Food Romance, her chili down below, because that is epic. And I will see if I can find a link to Chris's new pizza book. But if not, just go somewhere and search Chris Kendall, The Raw Advantage, pizza, and I'm sure it'll come up. But those are a good start right there. You know, you don't need that much. You do not need that much to get through the winter. And those pizzas, I've seen them already, and I've had his original pizza. And you're not missing a thing with it not being cooked right there. With Lissa's chili, I'm going to tell you something. When she came and visited me 2 years ago in Costa Rica, and we were getting ready to make the chili, I had confidence in her, and I knew it was going to taste good. But I really didn't know it was going to be as chili tasting as it was, and I really didn't know that it was probably going to be the best chili I've ever had, regardless of what's in there, meat, beans, whatever, which this didn't have any of. So right there, you know, there's a start. I could pretty much go through the winter on that savory stew I've got and Melissa's chili. Now, if I add Chris's pizzas in there plus a couple of recipes of mine, boom, I'm almost there. Because, I mean, you don't need that much. You don't need that much. You're not going to totally abandon salad. So really all you need is maybe 5 or 6 hearty recipes to get you through the winter. Now, one thing that I'm thinking of, I'm thinking in all different kinds of directions. Ever since I made that, I was talking about that taco meat a couple of weeks ago. I'm already thinking about how to do things with that. I've got a couple things down on my list right now that I want to experiment with. I'm experimenting with stretching that walnut meat, you know, taking some of the fat out of it by mixing in beets with it. I'm also trying to, well, not trying, I know how to do it, I just haven't done it before, with what am I trying to say? I haven't done jackfruit. I haven't done barbecue jackfruit, but it's super, super easy. And now I know a place where I can get the jackfruit that's already cut up. All I have to do is like pull, you know, pull the pieces to make it like the pulled pork, make myself some barbecue. Also, I'm thinking, okay, let's move on from there. If I can come up with taco meat, and now let's see, I'm going to add some beets to it. Now that got me thinking, I've got a barbecue sauce. I can come up with something a little bit more sloppy Joe. I'm interested in maybe coming up with a sloppy Joe. So the possibilities are endless. Once you learn a few tricks, you start building on this. That's why, you know, when I do recipe videos, I think people get frustrated because they're not proper recipe videos, because I don't sit there and measure. They're not recipe videos in the sense of I haven't experimented and developed them. I haven't made them several times just to make sure this is the right amount of this and that, because that's just not how I do. And it would be a little bit ingenuous to be sharing a different process than how I do things. But once you start learning a few tricks in the kitchen, you know, I used to watch videos by Tanny Raw. I used to watch the Alyssa's Raw Food Romance videos when she was making food. And I've watched a couple of other people. You pick up a few tricks here and there about, okay, this is good for sweetening things. This is good for thickening things. This is good for adding this flavor. This is good for these two things mix well together. And you expand on that. You get a little basic knowledge, and then you go out on your own, which is pretty much what I do now. I'm kind of like if-then. Well, if this would work, and if this is good, well, why couldn't I do this, this, and this, and do a little bit different version with it and use something to, you know, make a totally different dish? And that's the direction I'm kind of going in right now, because, yeah, spring, summertime tends to be uber simple for me. It's not even so much how what my body asks for, but it's a mentality. You know, it's hot, although it's super hot right now. You know, everything's just light, light, light. As the cooler weather comes in, I want a little bit more hearty, a little bit more satisfying, I'm a little bit more taste-oriented in the cool weather, a little bit more, yeah, my tastes get a little bit more complicated. I like to mix it up and experiment. So that's all you really need to do, is learn yourself a few tricks, learn a couple of recipes, and then just apply that if-then. By saying, if this works, then maybe this will work. And you try, you get in there, you play a little bit, you make a few mistakes. The mistakes usually aren't that bad. In the over 6 years that I've been doing this lifestyle, and yeah, my skills have developed, but I would say I've not just had to toss very many things. Even back in the early days when I would make something and it wasn't the greatest in the world, it wasn't terrible. So get in that kitchen. Get in that kitchen. I'll finish up by saying, depend on yourself. Try to be as self-sufficient, independent as possible. Don't, you know, when you learn a few tricks from somebody else on this lifestyle, don't constantly think, okay, who else can I learn something from? What else can I learn from outside myself? Take those things you learn and see how you can apply them and develop them yourself, because I've really been surprised at myself with some of the recipes. You know, sometimes I put something together and I take that first bite and I'm rather surprised. I'm like, ooh, you know, it's still kind of new to me being creative in the kitchen and getting more and more creative. And if I put more time into it and practiced, it would be more. But now's the time to do it. If you don't start doing it now, let's fast forward 2 or 3 months and you'll just be bitching and moaning and whining and crying. Well, it's cold. I don't want to eat ice cream in cold weather, and I need cooked and I need heat. Think about that now. Think about that now. Be prepared. Don't wait till the last second. You know, it's like, just be prepared. Thinking ahead on things like this is a good thing. So anyhow, I'm just going to let it go right there. I'll just start rambling. But learn some recipes. I'm going to share some more recipes with you. Check out those links that I suggested below. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Love you lots. Please give me a thumbs up. Peace.